When a narcissist grows tired of living with an empath, things start shifting in dark and subtle ways. On the surface, they may act like everything is normal, but behind the curtain, their behaviors become more disturbing. Psychologists explain this happens because the empath's light, love, and clarity begin to expose the narcissist's shadows, and instead of growing, they start scheming. The first disturbing thing they do is withdraw emotionally. Narcissists depend on constant supply, and when the empath no longer feeds their endless need for validation, they pull away. But this withdrawal isn't peaceful. It's cold and calculating. They leave the empath feeling confused, unloved, and abandoned. Silence becomes their weapon, a punishment designed to break the empath's spirit. The second thing is gaslighting with greater intensity. When narcissists feel restless, they rewrite reality to destabilize the empath. Suddenly, past conversations never happened, promises are denied, and the empath's memory is questioned. Psychologists say this manipulation keeps the empath doubting themselves, ensuring the narcissist maintains control while slowly erasing the empath's confidence and sense of truth. Third, they start triangulating more aggressively. Narcissists bring other people into the mix to create jealousy or doubt. They may suddenly praise a coworker, compare the empath to an ex, or highlight how someone else understands them better. This tactic is cruel, but it serves a purpose: to remind the empath that their love is not enough, and to keep them insecure. The fourth disturbing thing is secret resentment. The empath's compassion, patience, and forgiveness, which once kept the narcissist secure, now irritate them. They view empathy as weakness, rather than strength. Psychologists explain that narcissists secretly despise what they can't understand, and genuine empathy threatens their fragile sense of superiority. This hidden resentment festers and fuels more toxic behavior. The fifth is silent sabotage. When tired of living with an empath, narcissists undermine them subtly. They may misplace items, forget important dates, or withhold support in critical moments. To outsiders, these acts look like simple mistakes, but to the empath, they feel like constant little betrayals. It's the narcissist's way of gaining control without being obvious. Finally, the sixth disturbing behavior is preparing for escape. Narcissists hate losing control, so they start building a backup plan. They may flirt with new people, reconnect with old partners, or test the waters of independence. Psychologists say this isn't about love, it's about survival. They fear being left first, so they plot their exit secretly. When all six behaviors combine, withdrawal, gaslighting, triangulation, resentment, sabotage, and escape planning, the empath feels crushed. It's as if the home turns into a battlefield of invisible wounds. Psychologists confirm that this slow erosion is intentional. The narcissist wants the empath confused, weak, and dependent, while quietly preparing their next move. Withdrawal, the first tactic, is especially painful because it denies the empath their natural desire for connection. Empaths thrive on emotional intimacy, but the narcissist withholds it as punishment. This coldness makes the empath question if they're too needy, when in reality they're simply responding to the cruelty of emotional starvation. Gaslighting, the second tactic, leaves scars that are hard to see. Imagine being told repeatedly that your feelings don't matter, or that your memory is faulty. Over time, even the strongest empath begins to lose trust in themselves. Psychologists call this psychological erosion. It doesn't just hurt, it dismantles the empath's sense of reality. Triangulation cuts deeply because it targets the empath's heart. By bringing another person into the emotional space, the narcissist forces the empath into comparison games they never asked for. The empath may start feeling not enough, even though the problem lies with the narcissist's insatiable ego. Psychologists explain that triangulation is meant to destabilize loyalty and create silent competition where none should exist. Secret resentment, the fourth behavior, often shows up in subtle digs. The narcissist may mock the empath's kindness or roll their eyes at compassion. What was once adored is now ridiculed. Psychologists emphasize this shift happens because empathy exposes what narcissists lack. Instead of admiration, they feel shame, and that shame mutates into quiet contempt. Silent sabotage is one of the cruelest tactics because it's invisible to outsiders. Narcissists may downplay the empath's achievements, forget to share important information, or create minor inconveniences that pile up. Each act chips away at the empath's stability. To the world, the narcissist looks innocent. To the empath, life feels exhausting and unpredictable. Escape planning begins long before the empath notices. Narcissists test boundaries by pulling away physically or emotionally, flirting with others, or hinting at dissatisfaction. Psychologists explain this is called exit strategy. While the empath still tries to fix the relationship, the narcissist secretly prepares for the next chapter, ensuring they never appear abandoned. When these 6 tactics take root, the empath feels like they're losing themselves. Confusion sets in. They question their worth, their memories, and even their sanity. Psychologists confirm this is exactly the narcissist's intent, to weaken the empath so thoroughly that escape feels impossible. It's a cruel pattern that repeats in many toxic dynamics. Withdrawal is especially strategic. By shutting down emotionally, the narcissist controls intimacy. The empath feels starved of affection and may work harder to please. This imbalance shifts power further in the narcissist's favor. Psychologists say withholding love is emotional abuse. It is a way of training the empath to accept crumbs as devotion. Gaslighting escalates when the empath resists. The narcissist might say, "You're too sensitive," or "You're remembering wrong." Over time, these phrases poison self-trust. Psychologists warn that chronic gaslighting causes victims to second-guess everything, even their instincts. This constant mental battle drains the empath's energy, leaving them easy to control. Triangulation becomes a stage play. Narcissists carefully craft stories about others, an ex who still admires them, a coworker who understands them better. The empath begins to feel like a bystander in their own relationship. Psychologists explain this tactic weaponizes jealousy, making the empath fight harder for validation that never truly comes. Resentment surfaces in cruel jokes or subtle dismissals. The narcissist may belittle the empath's generosity, saying, "You care too much," or mocking their sensitivity. These comments sting because they target the empath's core identity. Psychologists note this is projection. The narcissist attacks traits they secretly envy, twisting love into a weakness. Silent sabotage erodes trust daily. Small betrayals accumulate until the empath feels paranoid. Did I misplace that? Or did they move it? Psychologists say this micro-manipulation creates a fog of doubt. The empath wastes energy questioning details instead of seeing the bigger pattern. This confusion serves the narcissist perfectly, keeping them in control. Escape planning is chilling because it often happens while the empath still fights for the relationship. Narcissists may charm new potential partners in secret while smiling at home. Psychologists highlight that this duplicity is common. They cannot face vulnerability, so they ensure replacements are waiting before leaving. It's not romance, it's survival. When these 6 disturbing behaviors combine, the empath begins to feel spiritually crushed. Their natural compassion is turned against them, and their light feels dimmed. Psychologists confirm this dynamic is one of the most damaging because the empath blames themselves. In reality, it is the narcissist's calculated tactics that drain life from the relationship. Withdrawal isn't random, it's punishment. The narcissist retreats not because they need space, but because they want control. Psychologists compare it to emotional starvation. By withholding affection, they train the empath to work harder for scraps of connection. Over time, the empath forgets what healthy love even feels like. Gaslighting intensifies during conflict. The narcissist might insist, "I never said that," or "You're crazy." These words are daggers to the empath's trust in their own mind. Psychologists call this rewriting of reality, a slow form of psychological abuse. It strips confidence, ensuring the empath depends more on the narcissist for validation. Triangulation doesn't just involve romantic rivals. Narcissists may compare the empath to friends, siblings, or even strangers. "Why can't you be more like them?" becomes a common refrain. Psychologists explain this is designed to create chronic insecurity. The empath, desperate to measure up, bends over backward, fueling the narcissist's ego further. Resentment eventually poisons daily interactions. The narcissist begins to see the empath's kindness as a spotlight on their own shortcomings. Instead of gratitude, they respond with irritation. Psychologists affirm this reaction is rooted in shame. The empath's goodness is unbearable for someone who thrives on superiority and control. Silent sabotage escalates into more damaging acts. They may conveniently forget to pay bills, fail to mention important events, or undermine career opportunities. Psychologists highlight this as covert aggression. While overt abuse leaves marks, silent sabotage leaves confusion. The empath feels unsupported, yet outsiders see no visible harm. Escape planning becomes obvious when the narcissist grows careless. They may spend more time away from home, guard their phone, or suddenly change routines. Psychologists call this stage detachment. While the empath still pours effort into saving the relationship, the narcissist is already emotionally gone, preparing for their next source of supply. The empath begins to sense something is wrong but often struggles to articulate it. Psychologists note that this confusion is intentional. The 6 behaviors are subtle yet consistent, creating a toxic fog. The empath doubts themselves, questioning whether they're imagining things. This self-doubt is the narcissist's most powerful weapon. Withdrawal feels like abandonment in slow motion. Each day, the empath feels less seen, less heard, and less valued. Psychologists say this drains emotional reserves. The empath may try harder, but nothing works, because the withdrawal isn't about them. It is about the narcissist punishing their independence and preparing to detach. Gaslighting by this stage feels relentless. The narcissist twists every disagreement into the empath's fault. If the empath cries, they're told they're too emotional. If they stay calm, they're accused of not caring. Psychologists call this double-bind manipulation. It ensures the empath always feels wrong, no matter how they respond. This confusion keeps the narcissist in power. Triangulation may even extend to children, family, or close friends. Narcissists say things like, "Even they agree with me," when in reality they never asked. This fabricated alliance isolates the empath further. Psychologists explain this tactic turns loved ones into imagined rivals, leaving the empath feeling abandoned in every direction. Resentment eventually spills into open contempt. The narcissist begins mocking the empath's very nature. What was once called sweet becomes pathetic. Empathy itself is framed as weakness. Psychologists affirm that contempt is one of the strongest predictors of relational collapse. Once contempt appears, respect vanishes, leaving only disdain. Silent sabotage grows bold. They may undermine the empath's friendships, whispering lies or creating drama to ensure isolation. Psychologists call this relational sabotage. The narcissist knows that an isolated empath is easier to control. By damaging outside bonds, they tighten their grip while ensuring the empath has fewer places to turn for support. Escape planning becomes almost celebratory. The narcissist imagines life without the empath, fantasizing about freedom or new partners. Psychologists explain this is part of the discard phase. The empath, meanwhile, is left with confusion and heartbreak. The cruel irony is that while the empath fights for closeness, the narcissist plans their exit. Withdrawal reaches its peak when the narcissist gives affection to others, but not the empath. They may act loving in public, then return home cold. Psychologists highlight this as impression management. The empath looks unstable if they complain, because outsiders only see the public charm. This duality makes the empath doubt their reality further. Gaslighting at this point becomes exhausting. The narcissist denies obvious truths with a straight face. The empath wonders, "Am I losing my mind?" Psychologists stress that chronic exposure to gaslighting erodes mental health, causing anxiety, depression, and even trauma responses. It's not confusion, it's intentional disorientation by the narcissist. Triangulation can become blatant flirting with others in front of the empath. This cruelty is not about love, it's about domination. Psychologists explain that narcissists enjoy watching the empath's pain because it proves they still hold emotional power. Each jealous reaction reassures them that control hasn't fully slipped away. Resentment grows so intense that the narcissist begins punishing empathy itself. If the empath offers comfort, it's mocked. If they show concern, it's dismissed. Psychologists describe this as devaluation. The very qualities that once attracted the narcissist now become targets of hate, leaving the empath drained and questioning their worth. Silent sabotage evolves into bigger betrayals, financial recklessness, hidden conversations, or intentional neglect. Psychologists affirm that sabotage escalates because small tactics no longer satisfy. The narcissist needs stronger doses of control. Each betrayal deepens the empath's confusion, making them question whether they are the problem. In truth, it's calculated cruelty. Escape planning nears completion when the narcissist begins discarding emotionally. They may idealize a new person, painting them as perfect. Psychologists explain this as idealization, the first step in repeating the cycle with someone new. For the empath, it feels like rejection of their very soul, even though it was never about love. At this stage, the empath may finally see the pattern clearly. Psychologists confirm that realization is both devastating and liberating. It's devastating because it confirms years of manipulation. It's liberating because clarity is the first step to breaking free. The 6 disturbing tactics become undeniable evidence of the narcissist's truth. Withdrawal leaves scars because it creates emotional starvation. Psychologists stress that healing requires reconnecting with safe, supportive people. The empath must relearn that love is not earned through suffering. This realization begins to reverse the conditioning that trained them to accept distance as normal. Reconnection restores their heart. Gaslighting scars the mind, but truth heals it. Writing experiences down, seeking therapy, or confiding in trusted allies helps survivors rebuild self-trust. Psychologists recommend reality anchors, small reminders of truth that dismantle lies. Each act of remembering strengthens clarity, breaking the chains of manipulation that once felt unshakable. Triangulation wounds can heal when survivors realize comparison was never about them. Psychologists affirm that narcissists project their insecurity through constant comparisons. The empath's worth never diminished. It was simply attacked. Healing means reclaiming the truth. Value isn't measured by rivals, but by authenticity and self-love that no narcissist can erase. Resentment targeted empathy, but psychologists highlight that empathy is not weakness, it's power. The narcissist feared what they couldn't feel. Healing requires embracing compassion as strength, not shame. The empath's ability to love deeply becomes the very quality that ensures recovery, growth, and freedom from toxic control. Silent sabotage left the empath doubting themselves, but healing rebuilds confidence. Psychologists recommend small steps of independence, making decisions, pursuing passions, and reclaiming identity. Each success chips away at the confusion once planted. What was meant to destroy becomes the soil where resilience and self-trust grow stronger. Escape planning reveals that the narcissist never truly invested in the relationship. They invested in control. Psychologists explain this realization frees survivors from blame. Their departure wasn't because the empath failed. It was because the narcissist's pattern demanded it. Understanding this truth shifts the pain into perspective, offering clarity. In the end, the 6 disturbing behaviors, withdrawal, gaslighting, triangulation, resentment, sabotage, and escape planning, reflect not the empath's weakness, but the narcissist's emptiness. Psychologists emphasize that no amount of love can heal someone who refuses to face their darkness. The empath's freedom lies in letting go and choosing themselves. So, what does a narcissist secretly do when they're tired of living with an empath? They withdraw, gaslight, triangulate, resent, sabotage, and plan escapes. Each tactic is disturbing, but none erase the empath's worth. Healing proves the narcissist never won. If this video brought you clarity, like, share, and subscribe for more empowering insights.